Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me
Ask him now, we'll save that. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. All these men gonna zone out. And all these men gonna tell you what I did and they twisting their words till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my phone. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a clown. It's my soul, all in, can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap, an almost banging wheel.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy, no way. That's good, settle down.
We are back from Down Under, and what was a super fantastic round 9 from Mount Panorama, Bathurst in Australia. Today, of course, our usual incident report, and now I know what you're thinking. Anybody that knows the dynamic layout of the Mount Panorama Circuit will think we could be here for 2 days going through the incidents, but massive shout out to all of our competitors in the 80K Pro Series for really putting on a top job. Very few incidents to go through. The drivers really pulled out their A game and delivered some of the most amazing racing that we've seen so far in the season. Massive shout out and big thanks, of course, to our sponsors who make all of this happen every second weekend. Kailami Nana, of course, and Motorsport South Africa. And then our partners, AMD, Logitech, and Elgato. So even though we don't have many incidents to report, and the incidents we are going to review today already had time penalties awarded in-game, which is what we love to see. What we're going to do is just go through some of them just to help you and ourselves, I guess, understand the thought process behind it, why the decisions were dealt with the way they were. What was also really critical is that we spoke 2 weeks ago about would it be worthwhile bringing safety cars into the series, and the decision was yes, we should. And happy to tell you that we actually had a safety car incident, and in my opinion worked like a charm. That'll be the last incident we'll look at, and it'll be great just to get the insights of our panel. Let me introduce our panel. The usual suspects: Jonathan Bentz, good to have you back. We've missed you.
It's been a while, man. It was good to get back into action yesterday with the racing, and it's good to be back. It's good fun. We're having a lot of fun in the background here, eh?
Can we just compliment you? I mean, I've seen safety car drivers toss it back. You would never have been forgiven in the Merc. I think you were in the Group 4 leading the way. No pressure to drive that around Bathurst, eh?
I tell you what, the pressure was up for that, but it's easy enough to dial it back. And Wayne was controlling me as the safety car driver, so he was telling me, okay, wait, back the guys up, speed up here, get the guys up to speed, okay, slow down, back them up. So as the team running in the background, there's a lot more to it than just like chuck a car on track and hope for the best.
Well, it seems like a great opportunity and great time to introduce Wayne Riddell back, joining us officially now. Wayne,
yes, it's official. I stepped into Jonathan's shoes 2 weeks ago, and I must have impressed a few people because I got the phone call.
You know what I like?
Can you make this a feature? So yeah.
No, but I think what's so awesome as well. I mean, you were a complete rookie to online to sim racing, and I think you were impressed with what you saw. But it's also cool because you come with years of insight and experience from the real racing aspect. And I think it's nice to bring that in, and I think it also frees Jonathan up a little bit in terms of, you are like the voice of God from above, not involved in the background and the organizing of everything. So I think it's also quite cool because you come with years of experience having dealt with this in real race terms. So great having you on board. Were you impressed with that?
I really was. I must tell you, I expected bedlam and carnage. I really it's known for that, and it's known for that in the real world as well. And when you go through the mountain section, it is akin to a bowling alley, and more like a pinball machine, because there's no give and there's no mercy for any mistakes. They get dealt with properly and solid.
Yeah.
We did see it in the Pro-Am race, blind rise coming over the top of the blind rise, and suddenly there's a parking lot in front of you, which is what I was expecting for the pro race. Hugely impressed. Very little to be done there. And of course, the upgrades to the software definitely helps Jonathan and I get onto a situation a lot quicker. That is a big up to the guys who did that software upgrade. It's a huge plus. And
that was cool, Wayne. I do want to. We must talk about that when we get to the safety car.
Sure.
It talks around how quickly you can get to incidents for review, which is why it made it so easy to issue those time penalties in race, because that is
correct.
It's got to be. So we'll talk more about that in a little while. I just want to introduce Tasmin Pepper.
Hello. Thanks for leaving me for last. I thought I was getting worried about there for a second.
You know what? It's like I know it's Women's Day yesterday, but it feels like it's Women's Day every day. But we do save the best for last with you, Tasmin. Listen, you haven't driven the track in the real world, but you did race in the W Series on this track. So I think you kind of went into yesterday's commentary going, wow, these guys did a flipping good job, because it must have been carnage for you guys in single-seaters.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot more carnage go on in our races than I saw yesterday. So I'm really impressed with how well the guys actually drove. Like we both know that this track is a carnage fest as it is. But yeah, the guys really put on a great show yesterday.
Just a quick one. I know we mentioned it a bit yesterday during commentary. Obviously, I use the term BC now, which is before COVID. We had one amazing flipping race opener for the season with the Intercontinental GT Challenge, which was the Bathurst 12-hour, which, I mean, your buddy got to win. What a massive moment. Any insights that he gave from that experience and his thoughts on the track? Because every pro driver I've ever engaged with, and you ask them, what are your best tracks? Mount Panorama is always right up there because of that high risk versus reward. What did Jordan say that experience was like for him?
I think Jordan was lost for words from when they won, and it took a while for it to all settle in. But he says the track is insane and he's always enjoyed driving it. He says that there is no room for error, so you have to be 100% on your game the entire time around. And they deal with high temperatures at that time of year as well. So not only are you having to concentrate a lot, but you're also dealing with, getting tired really quickly inside the car because it's so hot inside there. So they're dealing with not only just physically driving around the track and keeping sharp, but also the other side where you got to keep mentally strong throughout the race because you're getting drained permanently all the time.
And typical Aussies, they don't do anything normally down under. I mean, that race starts in the dark and they race through the morning sunrise. I remember they actually had Jordan starting the race because he's obviously pretty good in those conditions. So they do things very differently down under. We kind of stuck to the normal. The guys had optimal racing conditions. We kind of ran it at the midday period. So no rain, no snow, no exceedingly hot conditions. It was good racing all round. Let's get into our incidents. Jonathan, I'm going to leave you to run through introducing them to us. Our first one I know is from the pro category, and then we've got 4 more that we'll look at from the Pro-Am. We've got 1 from Pro-Am and the rest are all obviously pros. Talk us through the first incident. Let's have a look and we can sit and discuss why penalties were issued. Yeah,
for sure. No problem. Okay, first incident on hand was an incident that happened at the top of the mountain. And let me just preface this by saying that we're having a bit of a problem with game audio on these clips, so we are going to be without engine sounds, I'm afraid.
Tasmin can make the noise. Go, Taz.
Meow, meow. Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, so this first clip was when Van der Joubert spun his Merc and planted it sideways in the barrier at the top of the mountain. And then Van Rooyen here coming across and being completely surprised there.
It's quite a tricky one as well, though, because I don't know what he was trying to do here. He's trying to line up a move on Adrianza, which is impossible here. So look here, have a look. He pulled out. Whoops, hang on. He's literally got nowhere to go. So I think Strauss had obviously come under and braked early from what I can see, which is why Adrianza slowed down as well. And I guess that's why Van Rooyen thought, wow, look at this, I could have a chance, not realizing what's coming his way up ahead.
If I can introduce something here quickly, no one was paying attention. This was a yellow flag zone. So they kind of should have expected the chaos.
But I don't see you see, I'm seeing green. You see, that's the problem. I'm seeing yellow.
I'm seeing green at the accident scene.
Yeah, but where's the yellow here?
So just past here, there's a yellow flag past us. There's a crane just in front of the crane. There's a flag post.
Because I was looking, we saw the marshal post here, and I don't see a yellow flag. But should it not?
No, the actual marshal post was actually the actual marshal post where the incident was. For some reason, the software was showing a green flag. If you have a look.
And if you look one before, Wayne.
Before there's nothing. There's nothing there one before. On the right. Yeah.
And if we get a replay of this, which we will.
Yeah.
Back on the track, from where they've come, there's green flag behind them too. So there is no yellow flag.
There was yellow there on the right.
Green.
Yeah, there's nothing, and I don't know why. That should have been from the software. That should have picked it up.
Just wait a minute. Watch this view back. It's actually green. We'll get after this. We get a view back. It's actually green at the back as well.
Yeah, I know. No, I saw that. No, we both saw that.
So there was no yellow flags.
No, and I'm saying it should have been a yellow flag zone.
Oh, okay. So we there. Look, green flag. Green flag in the back.
Yeah, look here. Over here as well. At the actual accident, look there.
So we actually. Wow. So that's. Jonathan, what would have happened in this case for the drivers? Besides looking, there's a green flag there. So besides the drivers looking for green flags, the game would have shown them in car that there's a yellow flag or not.
I'm trying to think now. I think whenever a flag is shown, you get a stripe of that color to your top left of your screen. So if there was a yellow flag shown, it would have shown top left of the screen.
Yeah, but then the track would have been the flags being shown on track would be yellow, not green. So maybe if it was all confused.
Yeah, it may very well be.
It may be a situation.
I don't think Van Rooyen's at fault here, to be honest with you. I think he's gone left because he saw them over slowing down, and then he's realized, oh, there's a car in the way, and he's kind of now got caught up in the whole situation where he's trying to move back, but the guy in front of him's obviously really slowed down, and that's why they've come together.
Well, look, my point here is, if it is a yellow flag zone, then he is 100% at fault. But if the game is not showing yellow flags, then this, for me, you can't issue fault to him because he's not seeing anything but green flags. Have a look. Here's a green flag here on the right. Green flag. Going through the corner, here's another marshal point here. No flag. Yeah, there.
And he can't see anything where he was at that point because he's right behind the guy in front of him.
Can I just interrupt a second? How real life is this? Because even our marshals sometimes get it really awesome.
Yeah.
French. I can't believe it.
Colorblind.
No, but what happened? What was the decision here? What happened in game?
So the decision that Jonathan and I had a long chat about here was that Van Rooyen, he's in car on the apex, on the turn. Look here, we're in car now. Look at him. Look to the left. All right. There's the track. It's full. Then realizes, oops. So the gap is now small, and you can see the guy, the Audi is right next to him. He just tags the guy in the Audi. He was already overcommitted, and we felt that Audi guy is the one who actually should not have been penalized here, and he's the one who actually got hurt. He
got injured, but he got hit. But I still don't think it's Van Rooyen's fault. I mean, he's tried to avoid the car in front of him. And because the Audi's now slowed down, that's the only reason why he's collected him.
Yeah.
So what penalty was issued here?
This was a 5-second penalty.
5-second penalty.
To Van Rooyen.
To the pink car, yeah.
To Van Rooyen. You see, I wouldn't issue a penalty here because according to me, the game is screwed up here. He's seeing flag racing. When he comes through the left-hander, it's a double left-hander. It's a notoriously dangerous section of the circuit anyway. The car's super light. I trust you. He's not looking down at that 7 new sign. He's looking at Adrianse in front of him. He would never have seen you there parked at the angle, which is why he pulled out to try and get past Adrianse. So if he was seeing yellow flags, definitely penalize him heavily in more than 5 seconds.
No, we did agree that if it was yellow flag, they were waving like it. That would have been not even a 15. It would have been a drive-through.
But then why issue a penalty at all? Because actually not his fault.
Well, it is because he wasn't looking ahead of him. He was only fixed on the corner.
But he can't see ahead of him. He's coming up behind the car and he's pulling up. No way.
On this corner, have a look when you go into car. Go in car shortly. Around the corner on the apex, the previous apex. Yeah.
Oh, watch out. How's he looking? He's looking at this car. He's fighting his car.
Yeah, correct. Look, tracks fall in front of him.
But you would never have known. I promise you. I don't know. You can say what you think.
I don't know.
I promise you, I'm looking and trying to keep my car. That corner is so dangerous as it is. You're fighting to keep your car straight. Why would he have pulled out if he had already seen that there's a Merc parked across the track? He only pulled out because Adrianse was slowing down. Pulled out, went, oh, flip, that's why Adrianse is slowing down. I've got nowhere to go. Do I T-bone you, Bear, or do I try and sneak?
Which he basically did in any case.
Well, exactly, because he had nowhere to go, but that's not his fault. The only reason he's pulled out here isn't to overtake. He's trying to figure out why is Adrianse slowing down. Look there, Adrianse brakes, and that's when he pulls out. I don't know.
Yeah.
The game
We both, yeah, it may very well have contributed to the situation or to exacerbate the situation. The two of us looked at it, had a long chat about it, and we said if there was yellow flags waving there, we were definitely going to go for the harshest possible penalty.
Yeah, I agree.
We felt that on the apex, he was fixed on the car in front of him, on his rear bumper. He was not looking at what was happening.
100%. I guarantee I'll be doing
exactly. Look at the shot here. There.
Wayne, I promise you.
Yeah. That's why we went for the lightest one that was there.
Yes, through the roller coaster section, I think all you're doing is focusing on staying alive. You know what I mean? You're not looking at what's happening 5 cars behind. But look, I agree. If that was yellow card, that's a proper serious cock.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say sorry to Jason, because for me, this is just a game issue, I think. Because it wouldn't have happened if the game had issued yellow flags like it should have. What lap was this on? Do we know?
This was
pretty early.
it's pretty early in the.
Yeah.
See, I know your car was like 4 cars or more, and obviously this doesn't classify, but it's also one of those really unfortunate ones, eh?
Well, if you have a look, there's Lawrence behind as well, gets clipped with all of this because the resulting Merc clips him as well now. Have a look from this.
This was one of those incidents in Pro-Am. We had some issues with
because we couldn't get to it quick enough.
Yeah, we couldn't get to this one quick enough. We would have called a safety car on this one definitely because it did involve something like 4 or 5 cars.
Okay, so before we move on, let's just classify then. So Wayne, that software you're talking about, maybe explain now what that software does. And it wasn't available in Pro, but it is available in Pro. So
it was available in both races yesterday. The software was available. What happened was, remember 2 weeks ago, I was brought in literally 40 minutes before race start. I got the phone call to step in because Jonathan obviously had other issues he had to deal with. So I arrived 2 weeks ago, and I was really a novice to all of this. And remember, we had the conversation about what my experience was with sim racing. However, it so happens that the software developers had updated the software over the last 2 weeks, and I'd now received a copy of the game, which I was able to play with and manipulate a lot better and learn some of its controls before this particular weekend's race. However, Jonathan and I, in the Pro-Am, Jonathan he was logged in and I was logged in. He was logged in as a safety car driver, so he was able to manipulate data, and I was manipulating data. And very quickly, within the first 2 or 3 minutes, we realized that the two of us had 2 piles of song sheets and we were not on the same song sheet.
Okay.
I backed out of the game, and I went in with Jonathan on his same screen. He shared his screen with me, so that the two of us were now looking with 2 sets of eyes on the same time, and the same thing. So what had happened was, with the first incident in the Pro-Am, we were battling to get to it between Jonathan and myself.
Okay.
So that's why we were unable to call a safety car. It was our very first time working as a team as well. But by the time we got there, you must remember we had the break for the F1.
Yeah.
We wanted to start synchronizing ourselves a bit better.
Okay.
It was at that point I mentioned to him that there's been a software update. And the software update, we can view it. We view the race almost what I call a helicopter view, slightly. Yeah. And then it shows us the entire track with every single car on it. And as soon as a car makes contact, goes slow, or stops, the color changes yellow, which is something the software never had before. This was the first time it was available. So I asked Jonathan or myself to click on the yellow instantly and go to the accident scene. We can actually watch it unravel. So
that's amazing, because I mean that's why you guys were able to so quickly issue penalties in race, which was great. But in this case, what I love here is that we're kind of saying there was a problem with the game, number one, not issuing yellow flags. But I mean, if things were up and running, like if this was in 2 weeks' time, we probably would have called a safety car here, because it was one of those really silly things. Not fully Jason's fault.
Yeah, correct. This incident would have been a safety car incident for us in our minds. But we were so busy fumbling around, because Jonathan and I were we were 2 different corners. We were trying to scroll through the different car numbers to try and get where the incident was. Then we had to go back and say, what lap was it? And what had happened in the first.
So then by the time the pro race had come around, got a good flow going with everything. And I think moving forward, we're going to have the opportunity now to tweak the safety car aspect, which is obviously very new in sim racing. I've never seen a safety car being used in sim racing before, so yeah, it's going to freak a few guys out to begin with, but yeah, we're going to tweak it now going forward. We learned a lot from this last race, and we're going to utilize it to our advantage in the next race.
Well, I think it's awesome because we're going to wrap up with that right at the end, so we can see it, because I thought it worked really well. Okay, so let's move on to the next incident, which, I mean, that was pretty unfortunate for Jason. A lot of so sorry about that, but I get that you gave him the lowest penalty possible, but I think Taz and I both kind of feel pretty sorry.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a look at that because I'm on your guys' opinion with this one. So, okay, moving on to the second incident. This is between Jason Gray and Albertine.
Yep.
Okay, so this one entering the final chicane, or S's here. Gray made a pretty good overtake there on Albertine coming into this corner, but Albertine managed to hold the outside line of it, and then Gray turns in for the apex, and unfortunately clips Albertine off the track there. And I must also just say that Gray and Albertine have spoken about this and cleared the air. There's no ill feelings between these two guys.
Okay, so this, if I remember correctly, was a 15-second penalty to Gray for causing an avoidable accident.
Yes.
Taz, I'd love your input here, because I think you and I might agree on this one.
Really?
What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe Gray should have given him a little bit more room.
There's a very definite tap here. There.
No, there is, but also, I mean, Albertine should have maybe backed out of it at this point and realized he isn't going to be able to get up the inside, because if you actually, from that angle, you can see Gray sort of does leave him a little bit of room.
And Gray's made the
He
pass.
and he hasn't completely run straight to the apex. He's kind of left him some room there.
Have a look.
So definitely, I think Albertine is a little bit
hard done by him.
naughty.
Yeah, but you know what? I like the view from above, because for me, he can, this view over here. Have a look, because I mean, Albertine can also just dab the brake over here, because he realizes if you look at this view, he's been passed. If he's tapping him behind the rear wheel, the pass is done, in my opinion. So it's his responsibility to not get his nose in there. There, have a look at that. He's tapped him on the rear.
Yeah, but also Gray hasn't shut his nose off. So like Gray's still giving him sort of track position, even though he's made the pass. He isn't closing him off completely and going straight for the apex. He's leaving a little bit of room there in case the car is up the inside.
But the guy that got nailed here is Gray. I feel a bit sorry for him, because I don't think it's all his fault.
So Gray got the penalty.
Gray got
I'm back.
No, I think it's Albertine's fault.
Sorry about that.
Look, you can see very clearly that Gray turns in for the apex, but there's not enough time for him to actually cut the nose off. So what happens is that
Albertine has to turn.
But Albertine has managed to maintain that outside line, and there's still overlap, and the drivers do have a radar inside the car.
Sure,
So
but if he's tapping him on the rear light, which is what
but Gray turns in. Watch here.
Gray has to turn in.
No,
He hasn't turned in.
not for the apex.
No.
Gray hasn't turned in. The reason Gray's turned in because his car's been spun. He hasn't turned in.
He turned in before he got hit.
He's turned because he's been spun. I mean, that's...
No.
Watch out. Watch where he gets hit here. There. Boom. Come on.
So first of all, we had this debate 2 weeks ago about the ever diminishing gap and close proximity. So Gray did know that Albertine was there.
But he's made the pass.
His internal radar says there's a car right there inside with you. His close proximity meter says, look, close the door. Where Albertine expected to go? Look from the top now.
If Gray turned in and took the racing line,
there was no car width. No, Gray's at fault.
Never.
100. My life
I completely agree with Wayne there because it's not like it's not like you can very clearly see he makes that first turn and there's still overlap.
Correct.
There's still
His apex
overlap.
should have been a car width.
Well,
Yeah.
hang on. Number one, Gray has missed the apex of the bend because he's left space for Albertine up the inside. But Albertine is hitting on his arse.
The
He's
other way
hitting
around.
on
Other way
there.
around. Albertine left space for Gray because Albertine saw in his car that Gray is coming up the inside, and Albertine had seen that on his radar that there was a car on his left. So he did not close the door on Gray.
Have a look where he gets tapped.
There
Have a
was
look.
always
No, but
overlap.
before they get to the turn, Gray is well ahead of Albertine. Albertine
No,
needs to
there's
back out at that
always
point.
overlap. No, look, there's always overlap until they tap.
How is overlap if you're tapping a car on the rear tail light? How is there overlap? You've driven
Because-
Because at no point was he behind and then he came back.
exactly, but he
Absolutely.
doesn't close the door. Look here. There he turns now because he's
There's
been
no
spiked.
place for Albertine to go. Gray,
No,
you know,
no way
Albertine
to do
needs- but Albertine needs to back.
Okay.
At no point does Gray clear the car. Okay, there's always overlap, even if it's like just a bumper.
Okay,
That
so,
is the key.
so is there
But
no
he leaves
responsibility
him room.
for-
I see Gray leaving him room until he gets
room.
tapped around.
there's no room for Albertine to go.
Yeah, but there is room for Albertine to break because he's now actually lost that position. So why must Gray go and open up the door even more to say, here we go, bud, you go up the inside. He's made a pass.
No,
Look here,
but you
can
see,
shut the
no,
door.
but you see, the key is here. The key is that overlap. I'm telling you, Marius. If Albertine had been cleared first and came back and tapped him, then Albertine's completely at fault. But that overlap was always maintained, which meant that he was always in the fight for that next apex.
Where's the overlap there?
I want to ask you a question. Marius makes the comment that Albertine had the option to brake.
Yeah.
Here is a braking corner. This here is an acceleration sweep. This is
Yeah, okay, then he could have lifted off. He didn't need a break.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, I know what you're saying, but then when we go to that other on-board shot,
Gray closed the door on Albertine. There was no space.
if there's no overlap, then how is it that he drove into the back of him?
He didn't.
Okay,
Look
yeah.
hard.
Okay. So that's fine. If Albertine is right and Gray is wrong, why did you give him such a harsh penalty?
Because if you see, Albertine like slams into the wall,
Where did Albertine end up? Look here.
and he
Okay.
Do not go by.
Much too sad.
Like I told you, Taz, you and I are going to agree on this one. I will put him in the wall every single time.
No, I don't think Gray's at fault, to be honest with you, but
Okay, so we're going to agree to disagree. Listen,
We
can't
agreed
be
to disagree. We had one last week. We got one this week.
we've all said what I love is that the penalties are being issued in game, and Taz and I were big on this a few weeks back, Johnny, where we said no use bitching and moaning. So we both now going to go, okay, it's done. We disagree. Let's go back to racing, because that's the reality. The decisions we might not always agree with, but what we
That's
do
correct.
agree with is that you guys are the guys in charge and are issuing those decisions on race day. I love that. So this has been dealt with. So that's awesome. And
Jonathan,
the cool,
our aim here is that when the checkered flag comes out, the results are done. That's our aim.
I love it. Look, so even though we don't agree, this is how every driver's going to feel. Every driver's going to say, I got hard done by. But at the end of the day, suck it up. The decision's been made, and we respect you guys for making those decisions. So even though Taz and I don't agree here, the decision's been made, and the guys get to know that that's the consistent ruling. So there we
Correct.
go. Happy with that. Okay,
Cool.
let's go on to our next one. Jono, what's that?
okay. I'm afraid to say. No.
I agree.
No.
with a lot of your in-car ones. We never saw that. I never saw that in the race.
Okay, so this next incident was with Leslie Oliphant having a great battle with Kadile, and unfortunately made a slight error at the top of the mountain and had to take the escape road, and we'll see the impending disaster.
Jono, you can smile. We agree with you 100% on this. In commentary,
Whatever.
this was the right decision. This little runaway is there for a reason. A lot of guys get it wrong and they take the escape road and go straight, but you can't then just assume you can take the racing line.
Yeah, that's right. So that is that debate. He could have braked. This one, he had a set of brakes. He could have used them and should have used them. This was not a shortcut. This was an escape, survive route. You do not go back and just resume this.
In actual fact, Wayne, I'd be interested to see what this looks like. I'm trying to remember what it looks like in the real races, but Monza's another great example. You missed this.
Yep, exactly.
They put another chicane in that you can't go straight. And if I remember, I don't think
you know. You can't do it here because you're already
It's a dangerous one, yeah.
into that point. Yeah.
No, hang on.
But Marius, you're right. You are right. And I think in February this year, they did have a double. They had a tire wall, a zigzag tire wall.
Yes.
They had to double chicane. You are right.
Exactly. It was either that or they put rumble strips so the guy couldn't bail straight through there and just continue at his pace. So
I think, as you can ask Jordy, but I think there was like a zigzag, two tire walls. You had to slow down and weave through them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I do recall that. Yeah.
Either way, even if there isn't, I mean, he can't go and make that mistake lap after lap. You know what I mean? Because it's a great line is to go straight.
Correct. Yeah.
Now,
but,
I mean,
dangerous return to the circuit. He didn't look to the right. He didn't pay attention to anything.
What did you give him here? It was 5 seconds, I think.
This was 5 seconds, yes.
Yeah. And the primary reason for it is that he was the one that hurt in the whole thing. He was the self-served penalty. Yeah. The difference was that the car that he made contact with would have also had resultant damage. And that
So here's an interesting question, because I see what you're doing here, where you look at it and you kind of go, okay, well, he was at fault and he ended up being punished because he ended up facing the wrong way on the track and had to reverse out.
Correct.
But do we not say, I don't care that you ended up getting punished like that? That incident is 15 seconds, as opposed.
So do you remember 2 weeks ago there was I forget now. I want to say Baby Sherritt or was it the?
None of the Sherritts were racing because they.
Yes, they bailed. It was who was the other kid?
Junior McCall.
Junior McCall. Do you remember that incident? There was a contact where both were wrong. One was more wrong than the other.
Yeah.
The net result was punishment self-served because
coming out of the chicane,
wrong got more damage and the less wrong got less damage, but both were penalized. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
This was almost that scenario where there was he was self-penalized, so that reduced the 15 seconds because his own stupidity hurt himself, but he also hurt somebody else in the process.
But you know where I'm going with
that? Yeah, I do know where you're going,
Jonathan, because I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, should we not look at what the net result is and rather look at what the penalty is? So that penalty consistently would be 15 seconds for unsafe rejoining of the track, whether you get punished or not. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that lends to a bigger question where, sure, we can probably dish out, just typical menu
items,
menu items, or we can take each incident as a case-by-case scenario because, I think to date we've been very consistent with our calls.
Yeah.
So generally, when you take somebody out from the rear by mistaking your braking point or whatever, it's generally been a 15-second penalty. But there are extenuating circumstances. You'll get a guy who just taps a guy on the bumper and he runs off track, but he joins right behind the other guy, and you just give him that 5 seconds just to regain that position. What I'm saying? So I think that if you're just dishing out menu items in penalties, it's going to be slightly more unfair for some people than other people. So I think we have the capacity to do a case-by-case scenario. So I think for the drivers, it's the best scenario.
So if it was Bash facing the wrong way, it would have been a drive-through or 15 seconds or whatever, depending on how Bash's outcome.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, unsafe track rejoin is probably one of my worst ones in terms of
because it's controllable
severity.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Marius, for the record, Jonathan and I had a bit of a chat off air between the two races yesterday, and we've got a limited menu list at the moment, but we've agreed that For consistency's sake in the championship, that's the only menu that's been available, and therefore we will only choose those items we have available. But we are definitely looking at a total remake for next season.
Okay.
And we're going to try and introduce a lot more real world penalty structures that exist in the real world, and try and bring them into this, such as now the safety car that we brought in to prevent race stoppage and that. And the penalties we're also going to be looking at, and we're going to document them to say, you do this, that, you do this, you do that. So when it gets to a situation, a driver can almost say, tick, 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 oh shit, there's 10 seconds.
He knows what's going on.
100%. And it'll be consistent time and time again, because he has met that criteria for that penalty.
Taz, it's quite interesting. I mean, before we move on, I mean, you guys have cut out of this very short at the moment, because what he actually did later on for me was even more bloody dangerous, because he ran backwards on the track. And when you get caught here, Tazzy, how do you turn the car around? I mean, there is no space. And he actually basically did a 3-point turn, like in the middle of the track. And I was waiting to come over the hill and clatter him in the door. So
I was waiting for it as well. Trust me, I was waiting for it.
I know in real life you're not allowed to actually do that. So I know that a lot of the guys actually try and do it, and then they get stuck in the middle of the track. I know that they're not allowed to go backwards up the hill to try and do a better turn. Even though they do attempt it, they kind of have to just stay stationary, and the guys have to come and take them out of the wall.
Wait for safety car, correct? Yeah, because the damn splits are sometimes also false.
Yeah, so in the game, I feel like they should automatically have to reset and go straight to pits instead of trying to maneuver and try and get back out of the wall.
Yeah, because it actually luckily in this case, no one clattered into him, but it was close. I was like, oh my word, that was another safety car. Okay, so that's cool. There's no disagreement with that. I remember in race,
Jonathan was said, must I go? Do you want a safety car? And I was like, no, hold on, let's just see this one through first.
He was going backwards down the hill. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it worked out well obviously on that case. Okay, let's have a look at our second last incident, also from the pros.
Okay, this incident.
We also agree with that, by the way.
Oh, well, that's good news, because it's actually very similar to the other incident.
It's not.
If you say nothing,
it is very similar, because
we just smile and wait.
Because there's no obvious change in direction, but there's a gentle squeeze. So, which is exactly the same as the previous one, but let's move on. We shan't live on the past here.
I can't wait, Jonathan Bentz.
Dwell on the past. Moving on.
In the real life. That's all I want to say.
Let's not dwell on the past. Moving on.
Okay, so this is with between Patterson and Steyn.
Yeah.
You see, I think
this is 123
a bad run here.
Patterson went for a pass on Quade Claessens, and it didn't work out. Yeah. And then that gave him bad drive out of the corner and gave Marcus Steyn a run at him, choosing the inside line, not going, choosing to go on the outside actually through here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, now what I want to see is this. At what point how far up the inside of Patterson is he when he makes that move? Oh, no, he's definitely not tapping him on the rear light, is he?
No.
See, that is the
He's on B pillar. He's on the B pillar.
That, gentleman, is the difference. In that previous one, I know we're not going to talk about it.
Radar.
Hits him on the rear light. Yeah, they are next to each other. He can't close the gap. He can't squeeze him.
But what is he actually? Why is he coming back over? The next corner is a left-hander. What is he actually trying to do?
Because for some reason,
he's trying to get the best racing line, but he's forced to go defensive. So
which, by the way, is what happened in the previous incident. The guy would kind of get a better race line.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he didn't tap him up the naught. He actually tapped him on the beat. That's the difference.
Oh my gosh. I think, Marius, I'm going to go take a screenshot of where exactly he tapped him, and to prove that there was always overlap. But anyway, moving on.
Send it to me with love and a kiss and a heart.
I'm going to. Okay, so the thing here is that for some reason, Patterson has zero awareness that Steyn is there, because I do not understand why he would do that.
Yeah.
Because
Steyn backs out of it, doesn't he?
No, I don't think anybody would intentionally do that. So I think he had absolutely zero idea that Marcus was there.
But how? If he's got proximity in the game?
Correct. That's
he's
this is the
mirrors
minute
as
of
well.
proximity.
Wayne, this
got
is the
mirrors.
incident. Wayne, this is the incident you're talking about 2 weeks ago at Hungary with Junior
Correct.
McCall. They came out of the chicane and he moved across. Also, he missed the chicane. He came back and he just squeezed him off the line. Very, very similar in terms of that. So
In that regard, yes, I agree with you, Marius.
there's no excuse for
Absolutely.
that. There's
Yeah.
no excuse.
No excuse. No.
He should have held his line, gone defensive for the left-hander, and they
That's
both
right.
continue racing.
At this point, he is actually in control of the corner.
Yeah.
The left-hander, he's in control of it.
Patterson definitely knows he's there because he's
Yeah, of course
initially
he does.
gone defensive.
Of
He's
course he
initially
does.
gone defensive, so he knows someone's there, man. He's
Absolutely.
not known.
100%. Staying in this situation was a passenger in more ways than one. Because of the incident, he was a passenger. But even at this particular point where Steyn goes in, Patterson is holding the corner. Steyn is still a passenger, even if they didn't make contact, because Patterson was the boss of the corner. He owned that corner. It was his. But why he just moved over like it is beyond both of us.
Yeah, and well, that's the reason he got the penalty. So I mean,
Great penalty.
And
Yeah.
for what it's
You can
worth,
also
if Steyn-
you
if
can
Steyn
see
was-
his cameras are working as well,
Yeah,
so it's
correct.
not like
Yeah,
his
they are
cameras
working.
weren't working.
Yeah, and if Steyn, I just want to say something here, and that both of us agreed that if Steyn was unable to rejoin because of this, we wouldn't have done the 50. We would have gone a lot heavier.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, 'cause I was gutted. I mean, because Steyn was
Yeah.
having a great race, and for him
Absolutely.
just to end up, I think 8th or 9th or wherever he ended up 7th, maybe
100.
even overall.
Yeah.
I think was brilliant. But yeah, I mean that puts a guy out of a race unnecessarily.
Correct.
I think Patterson's so grumpy because he had a good run at Quade Claasen's up ahead, ended up
Yeah.
losing out on that corner, and then I just wanted to say, well, no, dude, this corner's mine. But I mean, you're right. He owns the corner. He can go defensive.
He was the boss of the corner because he got 100% control.
I'm just wondering now if maybe, and I don't know if this is fact or not, but I wonder if there's an ability in the game to turn the radar off and to not run what we call the virtual mirror, which is like a forced.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
So,
Yeah, well, I know
Can you?
in iRacing you can turn off your mirrors and you can turn off the person talking to you as well. So if you
Yeah.
can do it there, I'm sure in this game
So
you're able
my,
to do it
my
as well.
answer to this is the same as any Joe Public who climbs into a supercar on a road. Turn that traction control off at your own peril.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so-
And if Patterson has turned that radar off, that's at his own peril.
yeah, look, the mirrors can definitely, because we remember we spoke about that in the post-race interview about turning mirrors off, and the guy said, yeah, they can. I didn't know you can turn proximity off, so that would be silly.
no, I don't
Again,
know if that's the case.
But
I
his
wonder-
mirrors are on. His mirrors are on.
His mirrors are on. You can see he's got a rear view mirror that's full of car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got a message now that you can't turn radar off, so I
Okay,
don't
well,
care.
good. So there's no excuse. Happy
thanks.
day.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Okay.
Let's our final one, which is the interesting one, because this is the first time this whole season we've had a safety car. And I think it was a great initiative to introduce it. I know a lot of guys have bitched and moaned about why introduce it now. Well, I think a lot of guys got to enjoy a fantastic race at Bathurst, which they would not have got to have done because this incident got a lot of innocent bystanders. Jonathan, let's talk through it.
Yeah, so I mean, the intention with the safety car, and I told this to the drivers before, is literally to keep all drivers on the lead lap when there's a massive incident. So yeah, you see Hampson unfortunately spins their tags collar, and then chaos ensues. So this incident, I think we counted, there's 7 definite casualties in this, which definitely fits the criteria for a safety car. And no particular person at fault with this except somebody who made an error
Totally.
and then was a passenger.
And you know what the amazing thing is? I want to bring it up. There's Richard van Coller, Jason Isherwood. Both of those guys ended up going on to have great races. I think Van Coller, did he finish 10th or 11th? And Isherwood maybe 13th. And this would have been the end of their race, like early on in the race, because to fix the damage here, they would have been 2 or 3 laps down. We saw that in Pro-Am. A lot of guys were running 2 or 3 laps down. Instead, they got to fix the car, be on the same lap, and live to race, and actually end up scoring great points at Mount Panorama. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because so many times we've seen early race incidents that just completely put somebody out of the running, and now we have guys that were definitely affected sitting in the top half of the pro category, and that's fantastic. That's exactly the sort of success rate that makes the safety car worthwhile. Do we have things to improve on the safety car? Absolutely. And I mean, one thing that we really battled with on the day was communication, because we've never had this before. Of course, we can expect teething issues with something that's never really been done before. I've never seen the implementation of a safety car. I'm not saying it's never been done. I'm not trying to claim that we're, setting the standard here or anything, but we have nothing to go by. So one issue that we had straight away in the beginning is communication with the drivers is very difficult. So our intention was to communicate with two methods, for redundancy purposes. So speaking to the drivers directly in the Discord channels, and then sending a text message in the game. Unfortunately, I'm the guy doing the text messages and I'm doing the driving. So
safety car,
yeah. So,
no texting and driving, hey? No texting.
What do you mean? There was no space on Mount Panorama for you to text? What about the long back straight? Come on.
Well, I mean, that was exactly the thing. So by the time we decided, okay, safety car in this lap, everyone was happy that everyone was on the lead lap. Okay, we've told all the guys to unlap themselves, we're good to go. And then... But
one exception, somebody was not in the Discord chat. What was his name?
I don't know, but irrelevant now.
That was the only guy who lost out on this safety car.
Yeah, we were trying to tell him to unlap himself, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
So what Wayne was giving instruction as to, back the guys up, go fast here. So that really affected my ability to type at the same time. Moving forward, however, we're going to keep the same two-channel communication method, but we will have more hands on deck inside the steward's room that will result in having more screens available. So when I go into the safety car, Wayne still has direct line of sight of what the field is doing.
Correct.
He'll know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Correct.
And we'll be able to communicate more successfully with the drivers, because at the end of the day, that was the key.
Look, it was also difficult for us because obviously this is new. The game isn't geared up for safety cars. If this was the real world, we'd have safety car across the screen. Anybody watching the commentary would see it. Yeah. We didn't have that, so we were having to pick that up via you guys letting us know what was going on. Just a couple of things. The marshals are having a nightmare on this race day because there's green flags wherever I go. No one seems
I see the same thing.
No one fly a yellow flag when 10 cars have piled into each other. But there's a couple of things, and Wayne, to bring you in here, and Jonathan as well, and Taz brought up a great comment. A lot of guys have watched enough motor racing to know how safety car restart works. And literally, we were saying in commentary, once you peel off in the safety car, the lead guy, he's backed everyone up. He goes when he wants to go. But Tasmin, bring up the point that's critical.
Yeah.
You cannot overtake the person in front of you until you have crossed the start-finish line. So
correct.
Once everyone goes and the leader has obviously backed everyone up and everyone goes, even if you get a better run than the guy in front of you, it doesn't matter. You got to sit behind him until you pass the start-finish line, and then you can start racing again.
Cool.
Got to be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad we've cleared that up because I think a lot of guys might have thought this is like a race start and they're going to go around the final corner and wait for the green lights. That's not how it works. I mean, you've watched enough motorsport to know. So that is why I think guys might have bitched and moaned because they didn't know and they felt that they lost out. But at the end of the day, it would have made no difference because you couldn't pass the car in front of you anyway. So, yeah, I think the guys will be switched on. It was new for everyone. But anyone bitching and moaning about this, I think needs to get your wake up and not be selfish because I think everyone benefited from having a safety car here, especially these gentlemen.
Sure.
Well, there would have been 7 or 8 of them out of the race anyways because they would have been 3 laps down trying to fix their cars and pits. So
that's exactly the purpose of the safety car. I just want to talk you through the safety car quickly, and I did adopt a lot of a real life experience of a race control. So Jonathan was in the car and I was told him, get out onto the track, stay on the left-hand lane. Okay, fine. Now, where are you in the pack? And we had to quickly see who was behind him. And once we got to the running order, so then I told, I think it was Daniel who was trying to help us on the other Discord channel.
William, yeah.
Oh, sorry, William at least. Told him, I said, tell everybody safety car, safety car, safety car, so they can hear it 3 times, that they know what to expect. Then once we seen that everybody had calmed down, we then gave the instruction to William, which he then jumped onto the other Discord chat to tell the drivers the following and list him. I told him how to list the names off, reel them off, let them all pass the safety car. But the reality is that it's going to take a bit of training that everybody knows. So everybody must calm down to a pace, and only once the race direction then says following cars may now pass. Then you pass, and you don't go hell for leather, but you pass safely, everybody, so that you can join the back of the pack. And
you only pass the safety car. You can't pass the person in front of you.
That's correct. 100% correct. You've got to stay in the position that you are, on track position, but we allow you to unlap yourself to bring you all back onto the same lap. Because the guys would have done the reset button and all that kind of stuff, and they would have joined the back of that pack. You don't get to pass again, but you will get to pass if you went a lap down. So our aim then was to call the guys that are allowed to pass. We got the leader behind the safety car. At that point, I then gave Jonathan the instruction just to open it up a little bit so the guys can just settle down. Once they were settled down, he backed them up through the top of the mountain. And then I told him, I said, when you come out of the mountain, accelerate so that the guys can get a chance to put heat back in their brakes because we're coming in this lap. At that point, William would go back onto the Discord chat, tell everybody, safety car in this lap. Now, it would seem that there were 1 or 2 complaints post-race. This guy bumped me in the bum and all that kind of stuff. Well, it would happen because I think the guys were not used to how a safety car works. And when they got the instruction, safety car in this lap, they would automatically know that the safety car would have accelerated initially to give everybody a bit of space so they can get some heat into the brakes and the tires. But they must also expect that he's now going to back them up again before the last corner, so that everybody is line astern, which we did. And we did it really well. And Jonathan, I must tell you, just a little side here, at one point he said, gosh, look at this, I'm leading the race. So he was quite excited.
Yeah.
But you know, it worked, can I tell you, for us, not having any indication that the safety car is coming in. As commentators, we could see it. You guys did a great job because we could see the cars being backed up, and we still actually said safety car is definitely coming in this lap because that is visually what we were able to see. So
that's fantastic.
So for the guys driving, they will notice that as well. There's been a definite slowdown in pace, and the cars are definitely getting backed up. So I thought it worked well, Taz, and cool to see that we're able to be that adaptable. I mean, the great thing about sim racing, as much as we want it to be real racing, the reality is, had this have happened in a real race, those 7 guys would be in the pits licking their wounds.
Yeah, I think it was a good thing. And, yes, there is things that can be improved on, but I think the guys need to just kind of take it as it is, and this is how it is in real life, and it should be no different on the game, like we've said so many times before.
Well, it's not like this in real life, because that would have been the end for those 7 cars.
Well, yeah, but
So sometimes, you know, it is quite cool to be sim racing. We spoke a lot about it, like at a track like this in qualifying as well, that quick reset button and off you go. I mean, you make a mistake in qualifying, that's when you've got so much respect for guys like your put, Tasmin, to be able to hang it together on a lap in qualifying. One little mistake and the team's out. You know what I mean? They miss qualifying, they might even miss the start of the race. So in this case, we try and put on a really good sim racing spectacle, and I think bringing the safety car in has guaranteed that, because we've had a full grid, we've had 7 guys getting a good go at it in an incident that wasn't their fault, and to see those guys score points and go on to do well, like Richard and Jason Ishwood, I think was awesome. So well done, guys, to Wayne and to Jonathan. I think it's a great call.
Thank you. We plan to make it better as we go along.
Well done. Is that it? Can I go have supper now?
It is supper time.
Yay. Listen, fantastic round 9. The part that I'm getting really excited about as we run towards the end of the season is that we're going to some real proper driver circuits. So if Mount Panorama didn't get you excited enough, in 2 weeks' time, the guys are going to be taking on Suzuka. I mean, everyone's favorite driver's track, another big track. So quite interesting to see whether it's going to favour the Mercs again. I think the Audis will be strong there as well. Tasmin, any forecasts, any predictions?
No, it's going to be a good year. I think Suzuka is also a really difficult track to get right. A lot of corners that lead on to more corners. So, I think it's going to bring really close racing. I know it did with us in the single-seater stuff. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and let's hope there's less crashes.
I think there's going to be. I think Jonathan's going to have to do some laps before that so that he can get his head around it as well.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be busy.
Yeah, I'll get the T4 lined up, Jonathan Bentz. Guys, thank you. Very, very cool. And thanks to all of you for joining us on our Instant Report this Monday evening. Big shout out, of course, to our sponsors, Kyalami 9 Hour, to Motorsport South Africa, and then to our partners, to AMD, to Corsair, and Logitech as well. Hope you guys have a fantastic Monday evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time as we go round 10 in Japan, land of the rising sun. See you then.
Don't let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone.
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me
Ask him now, what's saying? I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that.
He had to slip down all the way into turn one, and he was breaking it down.
And all these men gonna tell you what I did, and they twist and they bust till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move. I'm a phone. Finally back in my home. I'm
Still
working
asking
and I
the start
start
off this safety car. Do we have one later on? So it has been just about
Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great scrap and almost back.